Hello my friends, it's Ranger Russ from the Meigs Nature Center. Really happy to have another program for you today. And I want to let everybody know, if you missed our program yesterday, we started a little bit later in the afternoon, but you can still see that interview with our Deputy Commissioner from the DEEP, and you can go just scroll down on Facebook, it's there right now. It will be put into our Virtual Learning Center. I know we had a little difficulty with his mic, and we're going to try and edit the video and bump the volume up on his mic. But be sure to watch that. Lots of interesting information from our Deputy Commissioner, Mason Trumbull. Now, I have on the screen here at the Nature Center our calendar of events. And as you can see, this coming Saturday, we have a very special program on backyard wildlife diversity. So very excited to bring that. If you would like to sign up for this on Zoom, you can just go here, click on the date of the program that you want, scroll down here, and it will show you how to sign up for the Zoom link. So you click on this and it will send you the link for Zoom. If you miss this, because we only have 100 spots for Zoom, you can watch it on Facebook Live. So don't worry, there's only 100 seats, but everybody will be able to watch it on Facebook Live. Zoom is a little bit more of a consistent stream, so that's why we like to do these programs on Zoom. So I want to thank everybody for putting in where they're messaging from. I see Michigan and Oregon already are up there. And today's program I'm very excited about because it's one of my favorite topics, and that is snakes. Have you ever wondered why snakes shed or how they're able to do it? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And I have a very special friend here. Now, shedding for a snake is called ecdysis, and that will be on the vocabulary list on the Virtual Learning Center. You can click on the Virtual Learning Center and see all of the past programs that we've done, and they have additional educational information with them. So if you open them up, you can go to one of the videos, and I picked one that isn't even there right now. And you'll be able to see other things, vocabulary list, word searches, all kinds of things like that. So ecdysis, those are animals that shed. Typically it's more of a keratin exoskeleton for ecdysis, but snakes do it, and that's because their outer layer of skin is keratinized or thicker. And if you look right here, this snake, I'm going to try and get the camera to focus on him. The backlight there is a little bit difficult. You can see, look at how cloudy that eye is. So this snake is getting ready to shed. So let's first talk about why they need to shed. So snake's outer layer, again, it's keratinized, it's thicker. It's kind of like adding the keratin from your fingernails to your outer layer of skin. That is not able to grow and expand. So as a snake needs to grow, it's going to need to shed that outer layer of skin. Now it can grow a little bit. The skin is a little bit stretchy, more stretchy than, say, a crab or a lobster, but at some point it's going to have to shed. The way it does that, you can see it's very cloudy right now. It produces a fluid from its lymphatic system, and through these pores, all of the lymphatic fluid flows between that outer, harder layer of skin and the under layer of skins. Now, I don't know if you realize, people have 3 layers of skin. Snakes have 4 layers of skin. So that outer layer is what needs to be shed off. And we're going to put this guy back while we talk about it. So they begin by secreting this fluid. That's what makes their eyes cloudy. And that's what separates the layers of skin. So that outer layer begins to separate, and the fluid goes in between there, and it separates out a little bit. A few days later, the snake will begin to reabsorb that lymphatic fluid. So that lymphatic fluid is absorbed back into the system, and that leaves a slight separation between the outer skin and the 3 underlayers of skin. Now the snake has to try and separate it even more. So what it will do is its body will expand a little bit and push out, and then contract and try and create more separation, and expand and contract until it's time to start shedding the skin. So now you've separated the skin with that fluid. You've pushed that skin further away from the underlayers of skin. Now it's time to shed the skin. So the snake will begin to look for some place to rub its nose against. It starts with its nose because there's a nice seam at the mouth, and the skin covers the eyes, just like we saw on the snake. It's cloudy, so that fluid goes between those, the skin covering over the eyes, so that's ready to shed. So it looks for a place to rub against. Now, if you think of it this way, think of it like a sock. This is a clean sock. All right? Now, this is our snake skin. Okay? This end is the mouth. There's already a seam there. So that snake starts to slide around, and it looks for some place to rub this against. And it's going to need something a little bit rough. So it's looking for bark or maybe a rock that has some texture to it. Snake starts to rub and gets to going, and it might pass by and need to come back around again until it gets just a little hook going. And as it begins, it will start to rub, and it will move over to a different rock or log and rub the other side. And they'll twist their head around, they'll rub their body, they'll try and get in under a log where it's nice and tight, and they push and they slide, and the skin begins to just come off just like that, all the way down the tail. If the snake is healthy, it'll be all in one piece. Healthy snake sheds usually in one nice piece. If they're unhealthy, it sometimes breaks up, or sometimes it tears accidentally. But then you get this really nice shed. But what happened to the sock? It's inside out, right? The same thing happens when a snake sheds its skin. It's going to turn that skin inside out as it is shedded. So, I actually have up here a little video that we can watch, and I'll describe what's happening here as we watch. So this is a garter snake, and you can see it's looking for some place to rub. Look how it rubs against the log there. There's some nice bark it's trying to rub against, trying to get the beginning of that shed. Now, this entire process between the snake being ready to shed its skin, the skin being large enough, or the body being large enough it needs to shed, the entire process takes about 2 weeks. Now, they don't just shed because they need to grow. They will also shed to replace their skin. So if they get an injury, that will be one reason that they shed. If they're sick, sometimes they're shed, and sometimes a snake that is sick will shed multiple times. So typically a snake is going to shed 3 times a year. Look, it's begun the peeling process. It's a little bit peeled down. The camera moves around a lot on this video, but it's the closest one I could find to a snake that we have here in Connecticut. The skin is over the eye. Right now that snake probably can't see anything. It's really just looking for some place to shed. So as I was saying, on average, a snake is going to shed 3 times a year. But the shed depends on how old the snake is, whether it's a male or a female. If it is a male or a female, if it is a female, the breeding cycle that it's in will change how often they shed. And again, how healthy a snake is. So there are lots of variables. So when we say it's an average of 3 times a year, we're being very generous. Younger snakes are going to shed much more often because they're growing faster. Older snakes, again, shed less often. And one of the ways we can tell if one of our snakes is ill is if they shed and then they immediately start into another shed cycle. That's a bad sign. Because another thing that is happening while snakes are shedding their skin is they are not eating. This process takes a lot of energy, producing that lymphatic fluid to separate the layers and then reabsorbing it. The snake is not eating during this process. So there's a couple of weeks that a snake is not eating. Typically, these snakes are going to be eating, a snake in Connecticut, they're going to be eating once a week, once every 2 weeks maybe if it's a slow time of the year. But if they shed and then immediately shed again, that means they're not able to eat during this period. And that's one of the ways that we know that a snake is going to be not healthy. And there are lots of causes for that. So if anyone has any questions and or comments, the snake is leaving its enclosure, looking for a place to rub against. If you have any questions or comments, please put them up, and I will be getting the snake back out to take a look at it a little bit more. Another thing that happens, so after the snake sheds its skin, after it leaves its skin behind, the underlayer of skin, remember there's 3 layers now, after it sheds that outer layer, that underlayer begins to keratinize or get thicker. And then it gets stiff and then it's not able to grow as often or as much. So, snake shed was found, head to tail, eye sockets were spooky. That's really cool that you were able to find a full shed, head to tail. Can you pull the skin off? So you can. If a snake is having difficulty, and large snakes have a harder time shedding than small ones, you can help the shed a little bit. But most of the time, we let the snake shed on their own. If it tears and doesn't come off in one piece, then we will go in and help it shed. So they're putting something rough in here to try and help the snake shed. There we go. Kathy asks, why do they shed? So the main reasons for shedding is to grow, to repair skin, or just to replace that old skin. Eventually that old skin is going to get too old and it needs to be shed. Now, we're shedding our skin thousands, tens of thousands of cells at a time. Every time you wash your hands, you change your clothes. Oh, there we go. So now the snake is going down. I have a feeling somebody's holding it down here, but we don't know for sure. So the snake is peeling the skin right back. I never actually got to watch the end of this video. Now, as the snake is shedding off, even though it reabsorbed that fluid, the skin is still going to be a little moist. So when a fresh shed comes off, it's going to be moist. Then it dries out and hardens. And I left my snake shed over on the front counter. So I'm going to run and grab the snake shed in a second here to show you a snake shed. So actually, I will let you continue to watch this. Please put up any questions, and I'm going to grab one of the sheds that we have out of the other room. All right, so you can see this snake is working its way towards the tail. It looks like it's going to be a nice, complete shed. Now, when you find a snake shed, generally they're going to be a little bit longer than the snake that shed them. If you notice, we can look at the scales. The scales are a little bit more overlapped when they're on the snake, and then as it sheds, it's sort of accordioning out, just a touch. So the snake's going to be a bit larger. The shed is going to be a bit larger than the snake that shed it. So you can see it's just about got it. Now, occasionally, it will break off right at the tip, that hardest part to shed off. And then the next shed will break off at the same point. What happens then, because you're getting layers and layers of unshed scales, eventually that will cause the tip of the tail to rot, and actually it dies and breaks off. So right at the tip there, let's see if this one gets it off. There we go. So nice complete shed. And again, if the tip breaks off, we will shed it for them. So again, the snake shed is inside out. You can turn it back right side out. A friend of mine is really good at that. I've tried to do it a couple of times. I was successful, I think, once. But it's easy to tear when it's like this because it's so soft. So now that snake's skin is a bit softer than the keratinized outer layer that it just shed off. So let's take a look at a couple of sheds here. Now these are from snakes that we have here at the Nature Center. You can see there's the tip of the tail. So that one went right to the end. That's awesome. Here's the head, and you can see the two eye sockets. Let's see if I can get to focus on that. Eye sockets right there. I don't know if it's focusing there. So that's the skin that covers the eye. So this is a complete shed, and this looks like this is from one of our rat snakes. So very nice. You can tell, I really should have my glasses on to do this, but you can tell the type of snake. First of all, each snake has a different scale pattern. If you actually count the rows of snakes, scales, you can tell what kind it is. But also whether it has a keeled scale or a smooth scale. There's a keeled scale has a groove down it, and you can see those on here. And if you hold it up to the light, you can see if it had a pattern or not. And this one doesn't appear to have any sort of pattern. The rat snake that we just looked at doesn't have any pattern. Now, when these sheds are left behind, this one's definitely from the rat snake because it's so dark. And no pattern. So when a shed is left like this out in the wild, mice will eat it. Mice will build their nests out of it. Birds will take it, build their nests out of it. Insects will eat it. You know, it's keratinized. It's got a source of keratin, and that's what insects make their exoskeletons out of. There are lots of animals that need that. So this is a good source. But a study showed that the great crested flycatcher, this study was done with great crested flycatchers and tufted titmice. And what they did is they used snakeskin in the nest, and they found that nests that had snakeskin in it were far less often preyed upon than nests that did not have snakeskin. So think about that. The predators are aware that there's a possibility that there's a snake in there, and the predator that they were looking at was, I believe it was a flying squirrel. It was one of the squirrels, and squirrels will raid and eat eggs. I don't know if you guys knew that, but squirrels will eat eggs. So if there was a bit of snakeskin in the nest and the birds use it to build their nest, there were zero predation on those nests. They did 40 nests, 20 of them had snakeskin, 20 of them didn't. The only ones that were had predation were the ones without snakeskin. So that just blows my mind. That is one of the coolest things that I have heard. There's the thing that I learned today. Snakeskin deters predators from bird nests. Who knew? All right, let's move back to our snake that's getting ready to shed. So this snake is early in the process of shedding. Well, not really early because there's a lot of fluid in there. So the first day that it starts secreting that fluid out, it's going to be, the eyes will just get a little bit opaque. And then as the days go on, you can see this eye is completely clouded over. So this snake has a really hard time seeing. What they do when they're in this state is they're going to find a place and they're not going anywhere. They're going to be hiding. They can't see very well. That's not good for defense. Again, they don't eat during this period. So there's no reason for this snake to be out and moving around. Their metabolism even changes slightly during this period, which makes it harder for them to digest food. So even if they ate during this period, it wouldn't be very good for them. So it secretes that fluid. And again, this has probably been here for, I'd say, 3 or 4 days by how cloudy it is. Now, in the next day or so, it will begin reabsorbing this fluid and it will get clear. The eye will get clear. Snake still doesn't eat though. Then it will go out. Once the fluid is completely absorbed, it will start expanding and contracting, separating that layer. Then it begins to look for a place to shed its skin. This is an eastern rat snake. These are the longest snakes in North America. I did an entire program on these. So if you would like to see that, go to the Meigs Nature Center Virtual Learning Center, and you'll be able to look at that. Now, I don't like handling snakes very much when they're in this state. Some of them get irritable and will bite, but this is a time that they're usually just chilling out, so we're only going to use it a little bit, and then it's going to go back so it can chill out. All right, I'm going to go right here for a moment. Let me spin you back over to the screen. And see if where the video where the eastern rat snake is. We've totaled up the number of videos, Facebook posts, video posts that I did last year. So from the time that we shut the building down, we started this on March 18th of 2020, to the end of the year, I did 479 videos. And we had 400,000 people view those 479 videos. So that is a pretty amazing statistic. All right, where is the rat snake? There it is. Nope. Oh, that is the rat snake. Okay, so again, we'll put up some vocabulary words, some fun facts. Here's a DEP fact sheet and a crossword puzzle. So if you want to go to the Virtual Learning Center, you're going to get a lot more information than just what I tell you during the program. And I really encourage teachers, anything we put up there, you can use it in your classroom. So, good way to get rid of cataracts, if only humans that were that easy. Yeah, we can't shed our eye scales or our skin that covers the eye like that. That would be pretty incredible. Amelia says her homeschool group loves the videos. I think she's talking about of nature lovers in our group. Lots of nature lovers. Very cool. All right, so again, you can do that. We have many more programs coming up. Tomorrow I'm planning a park visit. So look for me to be out somewhere in Connecticut visiting a state park. And then on Saturday, sign up for that backyard wildlife. It's going to be lots of fun, very interesting. I'm having a great time learning with you as we go along through these videos. So every time I see a program that I get to take something from, that's a good program. All right. I want to thank you all for tuning in this afternoon. Make sure that you watch me Tuesday through Friday on Facebook Live at 10 o'clock. Sorry, at 11 o'clock. 10 o'clock is our Saturday program. I knew I was going to mess that one up. 10 o'clock you can watch on Saturdays, 11 o'clock for the rest of the week. I'll continue to do these programs. Look for more interviews with DEEP staff. Very excited to be reaching out to some of the contacts I've made over the years. We'll be talking to some wildlife biologists, maybe some other educators, maybe some park supervisors, the maintenance people that are here in the park, maybe an NCON or two. we'll talk to anybody that we can find. So look for those interviews coming up. We're going to be doing more science, more wild animals, more trail walks. Look for all of that. So please continue to follow us and like us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and check in at the Virtual Learning Center for more information about our videos. Thank you very much, and this is Ranger Russ signing off from the Meigs Point Nature Center.